I call the regular meeting of the Milliken Board of Trustees for September 14th, 2022 to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Will the town clerk please call roll?
Trustee Beckman?
Here.
Trustee Dean?
Here.
Trustee Lane?
Here.
Trustee Wakeman?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich?
Here.
Mayor Austin?
Here.
And I'd like to note that Trustee Rodriguez is absent.
Thank you. Do we have any citizens' comments tonight? Anybody? Okay. Citizens' comment is the point in the meeting where the public is invited to address the town board on any items except agenda items for which there is a public hearing. Public comment on public hearing items will occur during the scheduled public hearing. All comments should be directed to the town board. There's a 3-minute limit per speaker. Please approach the podium. State your name and address for the record.
Linda Meisner, 108 North Norma Avenue, Milliken. I just have a suggestion, maybe a critique. I've listened to a couple of the Zoom meetings. You cannot understand most of what the board is saying. So if you could maybe get into your microphones a little bit better and speak a little louder. People who listen to the tape later or listen to the Zoom meeting might be able to hear and understand what's being said. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, everybody, pull your mics forwards, please. Okay. Any other public comments? Hearing none, public comment is closed. We have a proclamation for Suicide Prevention Month.
Ma'am, you didn't approve the agenda.
Oh, I didn't?
No, ma'am.
I apologize. Ah. Well, that would be because I put it after the proclamation. Apologies.
No worries.
We'll go ahead and approve the agenda. Now, does anybody have any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Make a motion we approve it as printed.
Do we have to add the fact that we're going back to the work session after? Any comment about that? No?
I don't think so.
They're gonna.
No, I would consider that having been continued based on your comments during the work session.
Okay. All right, I'll take a motion on the agenda.
Motion to approve agenda.
Second.
Town clerk, please call for a vote.
Trustee Dean?
Yes.
Trustee Lane?
Yes.
Trustee Wakeman?
Yes.
Trustee Beckman?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mayor Austin?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll do the proclamation. So nervous about it. Okay. Whereas suicidal thoughts can affect anyone regardless of age, gender, race, orientation, income level, or background level, and whereas over 48,000 deaths annually are attributed to suicide, with suicide rates in Colorado ranking 6th nationally, and 55 lives lost to suicide in Weld County during 2020, and whereas one of the most important protective factors from suicide is having a trusted person to turn to when feeling isolated or hopeless. A person who will not judge, dismiss, or try to fix the problem, but instead encourage individuals to be open about their feelings and tell their stories. And whereas suicide prevention starts with actively challenging stigma around mental health and building skills that help us approach the topic of suicide without shame or judgment so we can save lives. And whereas hope exists in Milliken because of the collaborative prevention and education efforts of North Ridge Suicide Education and Support Services, Imagine Zero of Weld County, numerous survivors, as well as local businesses, nonprofit, and faith-based community partners. And whereas Northridge Behavioral Health Suicide Education and Support Services program supports those who have lost someone to suicide and provides education to Milliken residents that help build critical suicide prevention skills. And whereas September is recognized as National Suicide Awareness and Prevention Month with the goal of promoting awareness surrounding suicide prevention resources and support available to us and our community. And whereas we could encourage all residents to learn how to talk about mental health, research suicide prevention resources available nationally and throughout Weld County. Check in on the well-being of your family, friends, and neighbors, and share genuine appreciation for the people in your life by any gesture you deem appropriate. Now, therefore, we, the Milliken Board of Trustees, do hereby proclaim September 2022 as Suicide Awareness and Prevention Month in the town of Milliken, and call upon citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools to recommit our community to increasing awareness and understanding of behavioral health and the need for appropriate and accessible services for all citizens. Dated this 14th day of September 2022. Thank you. Any questions or concerns?
Mayor Austin.
There's a lady.
Hello, I'm with North Range Behavioral Health, and I just want to thank you for reading the book.
Oh, could you please,
Yes?
please state your name and address for the record?
My name's Michaela Sanchez, and I'm the Marketing and Community Outreach Director for North Range Behavioral Health. My address is actually in Greeley. It's 2184 44th Avenue in Greeley. So I work in the administration services of North Range Behavioral Health, and SES, Suicide Education and Support Services, is a program of North Range Behavioral Health. And I just want to thank you for providing the proclamation and for encouraging the community to commit to learning about suicide and learning about how to prevent suicide. I think one of the most important things that we can do to prevent suicide, you know, we talk about it all the time. We see it in the newspapers and we say somebody needs to do something. And it's such a critical epidemic that we have right now in our communities. The one thing that we can do is to learn how to talk about mental health in a way that we talk about our physical health. You know, if we were to have a conversation about breaking our leg at the dinner table, we would be able to have that with a lot of comfort. But when someone talks about their mental challenges, their mental health challenges, sometimes we may feel a little uncomfortable with that conversation. And that's the most important thing that we can do, because the most single important protective factor in saving lives is for somebody to have somebody to turn to when they're feeling alone, isolated, or a burden to others. So I just thank you for raising awareness about it. I really appreciate it. North Range appreciates Milliken, and we're here to help everybody.
Thank you very much for coming
Thank
to
you.
our meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we're back on track. Is there any discussion or comments on the minute meetings for August 24th, 2022? Hearing none, I'll take a motion.
Motion to approve minutes from the August 24th meeting.
Second.
Town clerk, please call for a vote.
Trustee Lane.
Yes?
Trustee Wakeman.
Yes.
Trustee Beckman.
Yes.
Trustee Dean.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich.
Yes.
Mayor Austin.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. And now we will have our town administrator's report. Administrator Powell.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and trustees. So Public Works crews have been busy around town. I don't know if any of you have been out towards the dog park recently, but they have built and installed 2 new shade structures out there for each of the parks, and benches for patrons to be able to sit at while they're playing with their dogs out there. And they look really nice. They did a great job. The rapid flashing beacons will be delivered tomorrow. That's when they're due. We are still waiting on our permit from CDOT, though. We have not gotten our permit approved yet. So hopefully that will come shortly. Last week, John Rabus and I met with Josh Roseberry, who is now the school district's new facilities director. So he'll be working with us on a few items, but Josh at one time worked for the town of Milliken. I've known him since he was 15, and so he's back in Milliken working for the school district, so it's great to have somebody we know there. Pepper Carey and I met with Shannon Bingham, who is working with the school district. Mr. Bingham was seeking information from us regarding our growth, the potential growth, and compiling all this information to take back to the school district. So I'm sure we'll be hearing about that at the meeting that the school district is going to set up with us. So on a date on that, I have not received yet. Maintenance has been taking place around town at the town facilities. They've been caulking, painting, taking care of items before the weather changes. So we're in the midst of doing that, taking care of our buildings at this point in time. The grant for the Cherry Street drainage has been submitted to the Department of Local Affairs. We will be going to Pueblo in December to speak on behalf of our grant to the members of the committee that decides and who receives grants or not. So we have that coming up in a few months.
Question, the Cherry Street Drainage Project, are we still looking at about, did you say 1.7 million in our last figures?
I believe that's correct. Is that what it was? Yeah.
Okay. And so how much of a grant do you think we might be able to obtain towards the 1.7 million?
I'm hoping for 750,000.
Okay. All right, that would be a good portion.
Yes.
All right. Another comment is I did swing by the dog park and looked at the shelters. Even though it's unfortunate that we weren't able to get the GOCO grant with the money that we had in our general fund and we're able to, or our parks fund, what we were able to put up, very nice structures and benches, and I really appreciate the efforts of our park staff to get those put up. So,
yes, they obtained the wood and they built them themselves, so it costs the town less in doing it that way.
Well, that's another example of, we try to get as many grants as possible to stretch our tax dollars. However, when it doesn't work out, we find another way. So I appreciate that a lot. A lot of work went in out there. I didn't have a chance to follow up with you yet, but I'm going to tack this onto your report. I had a chance to follow up with Chief West with Front Range on the active shooter training that they did, which we had a couple of officers attend. I was surprised to find out that 46% of active shootings happen in commercial buildings, another 10 to 12 in government buildings, like the one we're in right now. So very applicable to our community, very grateful for the opportunity to have that training. He did say maybe it would happen every other year, but I'd like you to follow up with Matt LaSurf, if you could, in the town of Johnstown. They're looking at putting together some training for board members in active shooting situations so we know what to do.
I'm meeting with Mr. LaSurf tomorrow morning. So
how timing. Okay.
Yes.
Apologies that I didn't get a chance to talk to you about it sooner.
That's
but
fine.
I think that would be very, very important. We can be helpful in a situation like that, but we can also be detrimental if we get in the way, and they definitely have a program laid out. So.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Do board members have any other questions of the town administrator? Comments? Yes, Trustee Wakeman.
Do we have an update on the fiber optic situation?
Yes, just a brief one, and I'm sorry I did not include that in my report. So I did personally speak with members from ALLO on Monday. And what they're going to be doing is putting together for me a build-out map. When we're talking, and especially when all four towns are talking, and then we've had attorneys involved, things tend to kind of skew off in different directions. And so I wanted to reach out to them as an individual for Milliken and have a conversation that I'm trying to understand some of what they're talking about. And when they're talking about build-out, I want to know what ALO's definition of build-out is for Milliken. So they're going to be compiling this map for me. I'm hoping that I'll have something within the next week. We also discussed the Mad Russian subdivision, which is probably more underserved than a lot of other areas in Milliken, just because of its location and the difficulties getting there, if you will. So they're actually going to look into a grant because it is a difficult, it would be difficult to run fiber that way. And, and trying to deal with CDOT regarding their right-of-way or the river, the ditches, not that they're impossible, but they're going to look at, and it's expensive then to do it the way that needs to be done right. And so that's why they're going to be investigating grants to help them with this project too. So I will keep you updated on that, and thank you for bringing it up because I forgot to include it. So a very important thing.
Are they started anywhere in our?
No. We have not signed any agreements yet. So we're not there yet.
So I thought we had a start date in September.
No.
Something must happen in September of this year.
Maybe if we had gotten everything taken care of, that was probably the goal to start in September. But I think things went a little sideways for a while, and hopefully we can bring it all back. So.
Well, when attorneys are involved, they're going to dot those I's and cross those T's, so it will be correct.
Oh, I understand.
Yes.
But I'm not sure it was time to do that yet.
Right, so.
I've got a quick question about the Mad Russian. The upper half just had major work done. They had some cable company that came in.
TDS.
It was okay. I wasn't sure who it was, but they just had the upper part all done just recently, so. Okay.
They might have been doing some upgrades.
Okay.
I know that you guys posted on Facebook, the town Facebook page, but can you mention what is going on over here with the no parking signs? Are we doing street sweeping, or is there a project?
No. So I believe it's CenturyLink, and I wish John Ravis was here, that they're doing some potholing.
Okay.
Is that correct, Keith? Do you remember?
Potholing and boring.
Potholing and boring. So
Okay.
that's CenturyLink.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other final questions for our town administrator?
I have one more, please.
Sure. Trustee Wakeman?
Thank you. I know it's probably the wrong time. Safe routes to school.
We're working on the application.
Okay, and it's submitted in November, or?
It's submitted in November.
Okay, all right. I didn't.
We're working
recall
on-
if it was approved or
Right.
awarded or.
One of our next steps will be sending out surveys for the school, the students, or their parents. So that will be one of the next steps. But yes, we're working forward on that.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Good discussion. Thank you very much for your presentation. Next up on the agenda is the consent agenda. We have the resignation of Trustee Nicole Rodriguez and the approval of purchase wastewater crane pickup. Can I get a motion on the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Town clerk, please call for a vote.
Trustee Wakeman,
Yes.
Trustee Beckman,
Yes.
Trustee Dean,
Yes.
Trustee Lane,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich,
Yes.
Mayor Austin.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next up is a long-awaited item. It's the public hearing to consider for approval a site plan for the Milliken Waterworks pool expansion. Since this is a public hearing, the time is 6:48. I am opening the public hearing, and presenting first is Pepper McClanahan, Community Development Director.
Good evening, Mayor and trustees. Before you tonight is a public hearing for the site plan of a 6-lane, 25-meter outdoor swimming pool and associated equipment and facilities. It's located in a PUD on Lot 1, Centennial Cooperative Park, Replat A, and the address is 112 South Centennial. In your packet are various materials which I'm happy to address specifically if you have questions. The property is located off of Centennial Drive and currently has the wading pool, the smaller pool, along with existing equipment for that and bathhouses. It is zoned PUD. To the north is the RE5J School District Administration offices. To the west is Brookstone Subdivision Filing 3, which is also zoned PUD. To the southeast is Milliken Centennial Lake and the MAC Center, Milliken Activity Center, and to the east is Centennial Lake and Park. The comprehensive plan designates this as the site for parks and recreation use. Initial notices were mailed to surrounding property owners on August 22nd and published in the Johnstown Breeze on August 30th. The property was also posted on August 22nd as required by municipal code. For background, Thompson River Parks and Recreation District, under an agreement with the town of Milliken and Lot Holdings Investments, LLC, has been operating the existing Milliken Waterworks pool since approximately 2011. The property was under the ownership of the town of Milliken until the voters voted a transfer of that property from the town to the TRPR, which was done in 2020. And the staff received the completed revised site plan for the pool based on previous comments on August 18th of 2022. Review criteria, I'll just quickly mention, unless you have specific questions, that all of the criteria are met for a site plan, subject to a few referral comments and a couple of minor details to be corrected on the final set, like the correct address, etc. Comments from ProCode indicate that they request that the request to approve the project without providing additional bathrooms is approved with the agreement that if additional bathrooms are needed in the future based on use or demand, the applicant will build them as required per code. Front Range Fire and Rescue provided some comments which TRPR will address. Water and wastewater provided some questions about the use of water, and it's noted that the Town of Milliken Town Administrator and TRPR agreed to pay the Town of Milliken cash in lieu for one water share in the amount of $75,000. Again, there's minor corrections that are needed to the site plan before the Mylars are provided for recording, and those are listed in your packet. The Planning Commission conducted a public hearing on September 7th. There were no comments or testimony received in opposition to the application from the public. After the hearing, testimony, and presentation from the owner, TRPR, the Planning Commission voted to forward a due pass recommendation to the Board of Trustees. So staff is recommending approval, and the recommendation of approval from the Planning Commission came with the conditions listed. Staff recommends the following conditions of approval: that all referral agency comments from ProCode and Front Range Fire and Rescue District shall be addressed prior to the issuance of certificate of occupancy. The exception to that would be ProCodes based on demand for additional bathrooms. The final site plan and construction plan sets be updated to reflect comments from the Community Development Director, and required documents for recordation be provided on the appropriate media, which is Mylar. That a cash in lieu payment equivalent to one raw water share in the amount of $75,000 shall be paid to the Town of Milliken prior to the certificate of occupancy, use, and opening of the pool. That any draining of the pool comply with requirements of the town water and wastewater director and any recommendations from the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. In no case shall pools be drained to Centennial Lake or into the town's sewer system at a rate or timing not approved in advance by the town's water and wastewater director. Number 5, a shared parking agreement for use of the RE5J School Administration District off-street parking lot shall be executed and recorded with the Weld County Clerk and Recorder's Office prior to the issuance of certificate of occupancy and use of the pool. that existing 10-foot concrete pathway be protected during construction, and any repairs for damages of responsibility of the property owner, TRPR. Number 7, that the site plan and construction shall comply with all requirements of the municipal code. And number 8, prior to commencement of use, the owner shall submit any other required applications and obtain required permits, including but not limited to commercial building and sign, business licenses, food service licenses, and complete inspections. The conditions of approval shall be part of the town's business license for the use. And I will note that Clint Dudley is here to represent TRPR and may have some updates on that shared parking agreement. So with that, I submit the staff report and exhibits for the record, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great presentation for us. Let's go ahead and have Clint Dudley come up and make a little presentation, and then we'll gather all questions together at the same time from the board. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, Clint Dudley, 19440 County Road 41, LaSalle, Executive Director, Thompson Rivers Parks and Recreation District. So an update on the parking agreement. It was approved last Wednesday at the school board meeting, and it had already been approved by my board previously, so it's been completely executed and it's ready to go. So.
Do you see any obstacles with beginning? I know you had a deadline to start within a certain amount of time.
No, and a lot of those obstacles, so it was September 1st was the day that we had to actually start, but we went in and we recycled the irrigation system. We took out the existing turf. There was a driveway in there that needed to be taken out and recycled, so we were able to do those things that we needed to do anyways, which met those obligations, so we were fine.
Questions from the board, starting with Trustee Dean. Sorry.
No questions.
Okay. Trustee Beckman?
No questions.
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich?
I have no questions.
Trustee Lane?
No questions.
Trustee Wakeman?
I have a question about, and I'm not sure if this is for Ms. LeGrand or for you, on the what's the accountability on the installation of bathrooms? Is that, I did not hear that in your report, Pepper, on that, but maybe I missed it. So how are you deciding? I know it depends on participation, how many people are there, but who's monitoring? How do we know?
I believe that would be the building official would be monitoring that, since it's their code that would require that. And it's a condition of approval. So if you approve it tonight with the conditions recommended by staff, it's included in those conditions. Does that help?
I think so.
Okay.
Follow up, Mayor.
I'm sorry? Yes. Trustee Dean?
Is there a trigger, like number of people using the pool or anything of that nature that would trigger the restrooms?
There's not. And I will say that my discussion with Jose revolved around that if it gets to the point where there are complaints from the public, that they would investigate, and then we would have a discussion about it.
So the trigger is based on complaints?
Yes.
And this pool.
And I will say that the restrooms right now, and we did a count this summer just so that we could provide that information to planning and zoning, are at less than 20% of capacity today. Even with this new addition, we'll probably be pushing 50% of capacity. I don't anticipate this ever being an issue, but we do want to agree that in the future, if it is an issue, that we will take care of it.
Okay. And this pool will operate the same hours as the current pool, is that correct?
I would say mostly, but not completely. So I would envision that this pool will be open earlier in the day for lap swimming for adults. And there also may be times when the other pool is open for special events, but the new pool will not be. But in general, yes, but not completely.
Okay.
And there's only the one entrance, right? You have to go in through the building and then by the bathrooms through that hall, right?
Exactly.
There's
So-
a one entrance and exit.
Yeah, so for customers, there's one entrance and exit, and it is a false hallway that is between the restrooms right there. But then there is 2 additional exits for emergency access.
Okay, in the fenced area.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Terrific. All right. Since this is a public hearing, reaching out to the public, does anybody have any questions or comments in the public about this project? Hearing none? Okay. Any final questions from the board? Trustee Wakeman?
I'm pretty excited about this and fantastic that it's happening. Just have a question regarding how the swim meets will be arranged. Is that through TRPR? Are there opportunities through the school district? How does it work?
Yeah, so we're really open to seeing how it evolves. But in the past, we had a swim team that operated out of the pool at Roosevelt, and that was a program ran by TRPR. We had the registration was through us, and we hired the coaches, and we did the programming. And I anticipate it being much the same at this pool. The school district does have a new swim team program. It started last year, though they swim at the Y. Typically, it's a requirement for schools that they would swim indoors. But that doesn't mean that we wouldn't work with the school district if they had a need, especially if, so a lot of times they'll have a competitive swim program in the summer that's an offshoot of their school swim team, and we would love to host them. That would be fantastic, yes.
Okay.
Thanks.
Any final questions from the board?
I'm excited about the project.
Very excited. It's been long in the making, so we appreciate you coming in tonight. Thank you very much.
Sure. Thanks.
Yeah. All right. The time is 7 o'clock, and I'm going to close the public hearing.
Do we need to vote on that or no?
We do after we close the public hearing.
Oh, gotcha, sorry.
Okay. All right, and at this point, I'll take a motion on the matter.
I move to approve for a site plan to construct an outdoor competition pool and associated equipment on Lot 1, Centennial Cooperative Park, replat A, 112 South Centennial Drive, with the revisions and conditions recommended by staff.
Second.
Town clerk, please call for a vote.
Trustee Wakeman.
Yes?
Trustee Beckman.
Yes.
Trustee Dean.
Yes.
Trustee Lane.
Yes?
Mayor Pro Tem Ehrlich.
Yes.
Mayor Austin.
Yes.
Motion carries.
If you don't mind, Ms. Mayor, I have a quick comment before I sit down.
Sure.
So I have a message from my board to your board to say, one, absolutely thank you for approval of the project, but even more so, thank you for being a partner in the pool for the last 10 years. Being a partner in a project like that isn't always the easiest thing, and I think it's pretty amazing that we're still partners on the pool. And then on a personal note, I want to thank your staff. I think, as you know, that we had a revised, somewhat artificial timeline that we had to meet, and if it was not for them expediting the process and holding my hand occasionally, we would not have got there. So really thank you for your staff, very much so. It was great.
Okay.
Thank
You're
you.
more than welcome. Thank you.
Clint, can I ask, how's the MAC facility? I don't know if everybody knows.
Yeah, I think it's going to be okay. So yesterday afternoon, we had a kid in Boys and Girls Club intentionally kick a sprinkler, fire suppression sprinkler, and break it. And it flooded the gym. And that's happened at other rec centers, and it's been hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of damage. We had the restoration company out there within 2 hours. Luckily, I live very close to the MAC. I was able to get there and shut the water off. They extracted all of the water last night. It's their opinion that we have saved the floor, but they need about 3 more days before they can really make that official. So if you go in there now, the building's closed, but if you go in there, they have big tents on the floor and blowers and extractors, and we had to cancel some programming this week. But I think we're fortunate that it didn't happen overnight, and that we were able to catch it, and that the extraction company, they were fantastic. And they actually were just in town last week because Civica had a similar issue, and they were at Civica doing extraction there as well. But I think it will be okay, but it could have been a pretty big disaster. And coming into our busiest indoor season, that would have been unfortunate.
Sorry to hear that happen, but I'm glad that it sounds like it may be okay.
I'm hoping.
So the fire suppression is up in the ceiling, isn't it?
Correct.
What'd they do? Kick a ball up there?
Yes.
Ah, gotcha.
Future football
Yeah, sign up, get up or something, huh?
yeah.
Future goal kicker. There you go.
Okay.
Well, I'm hoping for the best for you and your gym floor because, you know,
Thank you.
we do like your facility.
That wasn't where you wanted the pole.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very, very much. All right. All done with that. We move on to the discussion agenda. We have the termination of the tolling agreement. Matthew Gould, Town Attorney, and Don Stone, Brinkwater Wastewater Department.
Thank you, Mayor. We also have Brad Simons online to provide some input. You may recall that issues were noted with the reverse osmosis plant back in the spring. And in order to address those issues, we bought some time on any possible statutes of limitation by signing and approving this tolling agreement. Well, the agreement that we signed gave the right to terminate to the parties on 30 days' notice. That termination occurred. Both of the other parties have submitted notices of termination, and the reason is that the issues have been addressed. When I say they've been addressed, I don't have the knowledge to say that they've been fully resolved or anything like that, but they have been at least addressed. And to our knowledge, and I'll let Don and Brad talk about this, I'm not aware of any further work that needs to be done. Just a few key points that I want to highlight. Let's see. Dates are important here. And I don't want to provide any kind of, legally binding commentary, but the termination date of the tolling agreement is September 24th, which is only 10 days away. The board should consider that that would be the running of the statutes of limitation. Repairs have been made. Don and Brad can discuss. Claims for any further repairs may be barred after the termination date. If the same problems recur after September 24th, then our options are potentially very narrow. I was looking at the law on this afternoon. There is something called the repair doctrine. It's unclear that still survives in Colorado. There were several Court of Appeals cases, and then there was a Supreme Court case that seems to have at least partially overturned those cases. The idea there is if there is recurring repair for the same issue, that the statute doesn't run as it might otherwise. There is an estoppel to prevent the statute from running. But like I said, in Colorado, which has a provision for giving notice of construction defects, there's some statutes on that issue. The court said where the CDARA, which is the Colorado Construction Defect Action Reform Act, where it applies, the repair doctrine does not apply. Now, we have not given any notice under CDARA. We obtained through agreement just very roughly and some additional time that would be very equivalent to what we would have gotten if we under CDARA, maybe even more, maybe even a little more. Our options, if we're concerned about future failures, one of them is to file a lawsuit, and that means before September 24th. Another is possibly to submit a CDARA notice, because there is a tolling provision in CDARA. So that is those are the legal considerations here. I want Don and Brad to talk about the condition of the RO plant and whether there are any known issues, to file a lawsuit over or to submit a defect notice in regard to. So go right ahead, Don.
Good evening. Right now it's working great. We got our first round of tests. I'm doing the discharge monitoring report for August, and everything is good. The repairs they made, and Brad can speak to them as well. Before, when we had problems, they replaced the seal, bolted everything back in. This time they beefed up the supports, the mounting, and then when they bolted it back in, they also put angle iron supports on top to help clamp it down. So I'm fairly confident that it'll hold. but I'm not an engineer. But at this point, it is working. And usually those failures were, 5-6 months down the road, so we really won't know for a while if it is going to fail.
Quick question. Do we know if we had to pay to repair this, since we are no longer under any kind of warranty, approximately how much it would cost?
The repairs that they just did were, everything together was probably upwards of $75,000 to $80,000. They have to refabricate a lot of the parts to put them in. All the carbon media in the bioreactor has to be taken out, which means we have to hire somebody to remove that. If it isn't stored, I don't want to say properly, if you store it over a period of time, it can go bad. The biomass can adhere to it and you can't clean it back up. It has to be replaced. That in itself is $15,000 to $20,000 for the media. Once it's put back together, we have to reseed it with bacteria. So there's a few thousand more. And then there's a startup period of about 30 days to get it running again. So it's not a cheap repair. They did pick up the tab for the first 3 failures. And then on the last failure, I think they were convinced that it was a design issue, and they came up with a better design.
So they did change the design.
Mm-hmm.
And if it fails again, we can still use the RO plant for mixing, augmentation?
Augmentation and blending.
Blending.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're looking at changing the water line that comes in from Central Well to town, and at the same time, we want to add another line that will go up to the tank. So regardless of whether the plant runs or not, we have that option to take that well water and blend it at the tank to pick up a few extra acre-feet a year of drinking water.
Questions from the board, starting with Trustee Wakeman.
So in the letter that was included with our packet, it says that the written notice of termination was May 1st of this year. Is that a factor for us at all, or?
I'm sorry, I need to look at that. Which letter is this in?
It was included in our packet. It was this one, the second attachment.
Oh, so is it the one that says hereby gives written notice of termination of the tolling agreement effective May 1?
Yes.
Okay, it was the tolling agreement that was effective May 1, not the termination. And I can tell you that the tolling agreement did take effect on May 1.
Okay.
It's awkwardly worded, but I'm highly confident that's what it means.
Okay. All right.
Because the sentence goes on to continue to refer to the tolling agreement, and it was effective May 1, so I think that's what they meant.
Okay.
Trustee Lane, any questions?
No, just wondering, the gentleman that's been waiting on the Zoom call, does he have anything to say?
Brad?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm on this call today. I would have preferred to have been there in person. Unfortunately, had other commitments with children. Don did text me today and asked if I could participate in the meeting. I did a quick review of some of the information that Matt has assembled and presented, and a reading of the actual tolling agreement that was effective on May 1, 2022. I truly believe that the town staff has worked diligently to make the Frontier Water System Seahawk facility perform as intended, but has been challenged with non-structural issues in terms of water delivery and the ability to reliably treat water effectively.
I don't know.
The structural issues have been the biggest issue. I believe it was in October 2021 where we initially had some seal failures associated with the plates at the bottom of the basin that was causing some pitting because of water pressures that Stanek did come in and repair. Most recently, there was a major failure of the upgrade system, which Stanek has subsequently repaired. But it was during that time, I believe, that they introduced this tolling agreement concept to extend the, consideration to potential lawsuits or notifications under the Construction Efficiency Act. I truly am concerned about the structural nature of the reactors, given the problems that we've experienced, and am concerned about the fact that in less than 30 days after the most recent repairs, they have both parties, Stanek and Evoqua, which is previously Frontier Water, have provided notification that they wish to terminate the tolling agreement. I know that, or I believe, and Matt is going to have to correct me if I'm wrong, that the tolling agreement dated May 1, 2022 allows for parties to terminate the agreement with 30 days notification. But I'm also going to point out that paragraph 10 of that tolling agreement, and remind you, I'm an engineer, not an attorney. But paragraph 10 says, any notices under this agreement shall be given by email, hand delivery, or overnight courier services to the parties' legal counsel set forth below, and shall be effective upon receipt. So, Evoqua's letter is dated August 25th. I'm not sure when it was received, but it's addressed to Joe Dunn of Stanek and Leonard Wiest of the town of Milliken, neither of which is the party's legal counsel. Stanek Constructor's letter is dated August 30th, and again, I'm not sure when it was received, but it's addressed to Leonard Wiest, Cheryl Powell, and Luke Batcher. None of those are legal counsel. So if we need additional time to make a determination if there is litigation to be filed or notification of a construction deficiency, maybe we could get them to reissue these letters with revised dates that actually are sent to the town legal counsel as the appropriate party under paragraph 10. So, Matt, do you have any comments on that?
Well, we could certainly do that. When I actually receive a notice, that's what I treat as the effective date, even if it came through backdoor channels. I wouldn't have a problem sending them a letter. Hey, would you please direct these to me so that I can trigger the timeline? It would buy us 30 days. I certainly could do that. I think my inclination, if we think we need to try to catch some more time, grab some more time, probably the best avenue is to go ahead and issue a CDARA notice and base it on the fact that we can't confirm that this repair is effective for some time. We have to list defects in that notice, and then they have an opportunity to propose a solution, and then there's a clock that runs. I'm not sure that we would gain more than probably, 60 to 90 days. But that might be enough to help us.
I definitely think that would be enough to help us to make a determination and observe the performance of the most recent improvements, knowing that the first series of improvements did not resolve any issues, or maybe it did, but there was a different issue. But I see a major design flaw in the bioreactors based upon the two incidents that I have encountered since working with the town once the facility was actually constructed.
I've got a question here. Okay, so you've got a design flaw, and you had all these issues, and then they refabricated this part. Why isn't there a warranty period for that part? Why can't we ask for that? That would give us a lot more time than what you're talking about. This is kind of a critical thing. If we've had all these failures, we need some kind of a warranty on that newly fabricated part. Is that possible?
They could give us a warranty if they chose to. I think the perspective they have is that they're operating under the original 2018 contract, and they're going to probably take the position, look, we've gone over and above what we think we should have had to do in the first place.
Well, not if there's a design flaw. We are a pilot program, right? This has never been done before.
Well, there are other angles that we could potentially utilize if this breaks down again. For example, there's a slightly longer statute of limitations under the Uniform Commercial Code. I don't really view this as a Uniform Commercial Code transaction, but it's possible that we can find some case law that would support that. The Uniform Commercial Code statute of limitations is 3 years, but there's a very specific, hard statute of limitations for actions against contractors and architects that is 2 years and this isn't the right term, but basically it's the date of discovery of the issue. So getting the warranty extended is possible. We need to look for some leverage to try to pry that out of there.
Well, there's one thing saying that there's a date of discovery. There's another, it takes time to get through this process and to get to this new piece that they put in. So it should be from the time that it was installed. There should be a period. It just doesn't. You know what I'm saying?
I'm just not seeing that it works that way.
Okay. Yeah.
We're looking at a date that may be the date of discovery. And I'm choosing my words carefully, but that's what we're going by. And it's some time back.
Well, let me ask a question of that, Matt. The most recent defect which Shannon and Frontier had to remedy, what was the date of discovery of that problem?
Let me answer that question this way. There is an email that notes a pinhole, and that email is dated May 20th of 2020.
So if you could apply your case law or whatever term you're choosing to use to that date, then we would have a longer period of time to make a determination if we are, concerned about the longevity of this facility, not just in the light of its operational challenges and future effluent limitations, but in just the general structural nature of the bioreactors of which they provided and were constructed.
Well, I think if that is the date of discovery and a 2-year statute runs, then it ran in May, and it was told by this agreement. If we have a 3-year statute, which I think is maybe we don't, probably we don't, then you're right, we would have some additional time.
Right.
And that's the original problem, not, do you think there's a date with this latest fix? Or
This is the date that we're going by.
This is the latest fix?
Yes.
Where they wow.
The May of 2022?
So it took them 2 years?
No, May of 2020. I'm sorry if I misspoke and said.
So it took them 2
Right.
years once they figured out to redo all this?
Yeah. Isn't that timeline about right?
I think there are two different discoveries.
Right, that's what I'm trying to say.
The first was in relation to a gas failure that was causing pitting and certain problems which they remedied. And then there was a subsequent issue with the overall underdrain design and it needed to be reconstructed.
Right.
Well, I'm happy to argue that the pertinent date, and remember, discovery is not the right word, but the pertinent date is later if we have some evidence to that effect.
Well, I would recommend to the town, and again, I'm just an engineer and I never want to represent that I practice law. But number one, that they did not provide the proper notification because of the parties to which the termination letters were addressed to. The buy us more time to make a solid termination work to be done to determine this most recent set of failures, which is an entirely different set of failures from the May of 2020. Right.
I would agree.
Okay.
Yeah,
When does that expire? The 30 days?
The 24th.
24th of this month. 10 days.
Get as close to that date as we can.
Because of the date.
About it's another 30.
Notification, but not notifying the parties in accordance with paragraph 10 of the tolling agreement, could we get that date reestablished, which will give us more time and not be under the crisis of 10 days and maybe it's another 30 days?
Maybe. It's not the kind of thing I like to rely on, but maybe.
I think that's probably a good approach, because right now, I don't have a lot of confidence.
Okay. Well, I think what I'm discerning is exactly that we don't have a lot of confidence and that we'd like to, any protection we can find, we need to buy.
And we can't just pull out $80,000 from somewhere in our budget to fix this again.
Okay.
You know.
Can we ask them if there's a guarantee or any type of warranty that they would do on the new fabricated part?
Sure.
I think that needs to be included. Trustee Dean, comments?
Well, I think we need to buy as much time as possible.
Trustee Beckman?
Nothing further.
Mayor Pro
No
Tem
further.
Ehrlich? Okay, so I think we've got clear direction. Try to get the 30 days, try to get a warranty on the part, and express our dissatisfaction with and concerns with the repair that we have now. They used this process, though, in mining operations originally. Isn't that correct?
Yep.
The selenium removal is a mining process. Our bioreactor was a redesign. So the parts that failed, the underdrain, used to be more of a manifold of pipe versus the plates that they have now. So that was a newer design that they did specifically for our footprint and our bioreactor. So it's yes and no.
Okay. Any further discussion? Direction for Matt Gould? Hearing none, our final report is a written report, so I'll take a motion to adjourn to go back to the budget discussion.
So move.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're out for the board meeting. Let's go back to budget.